Close of play of the third day of the second test between India and England in Chennai sees England on the verge of defeat. They're 53 for 3 in their second innings, needing a further 429 to win. They're lucky just to be 3 down, frankly. Joe Root somehow survived an LBW call on 1. He'll resume on 2 not out. Dan Lawrence has played some interesting shots. He's on 19 not out, but they've already lost Burns for 25, Sibley for 3, and Leach, night watchman, a first ball duck. That's after an extraordinary innings from Ravi Ashwin, who came in at 106 for 6 when wickets were tumbling earlier today in the Indian setup. Well, he added 180 with what remained, including Virat Kohli, who made 62. Some useful hitting at the end from Mohammad Shiraz, and he was on 16 not out when Ashwin was the last man out for that 106th, his 5th test century, much to the delight of his home crowd. So England did chip away, but then as the ball got soft, Virat Kohli and Ashwin put on 96, and the tail wagged as well. 4 wickets each for Leach and for Moeen Ali, but when Ashwin was finally dismissed, it set England 482 to win, which of course is way, way, way more than anyone has ever scored before on the 4th innings of a test match. So Michael Vaughan has been watching as well. Some rather strange scenes at the end there. It's been that sort of match where, let's be honest, I think we both agreed that India were somewhat below par in the first game, which they lost. They just seemed to have their foot off the gas. The captain, by his own standards, was really very quiet. Well, we've seen them come roaring back now, and Kohli is much more like his old self. He's arguing with the umpires. He's been warned for running up and down the pitch. We saw Ravi Shastri at the end there having a go at one of the umpires as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's Virat Kohli and the way that he operates. I think you've just mentioned the first test match, he was very placid, very nice, even giving the England captain a stretch when he had a bit of cramp.
He did.
You know, Virat, for the years that he's been captain of the team, has got this kind of mentality and buzz and energy that is in the opposing players' faces. He's been that this week, and
he's abrasive, Normie. I mean, he's deliberately confrontational, sort of character that he is out in the field, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think he goes looking for that. I think he needs it for his game, and I think the fact that there's a crowd there, you can see him geeing up the crowd again. It works in India's favour, and this is going to be very, very difficult for England. I know it's the pink ball game next week, but you know, once India get this bee in the bonnet, you know, and they like to think that things are against them. I think they like the confrontation of people saying the pitch isn't good enough. I think they like the fact that they think that people are talking about the umpiring, and they like the fact that they probably don't love the fact they're 1-0 down, but they play good cricket when they're 1-0 down. You only have to go back to that Australian series. So it's danger times for the England team. So far for 3 days, the pitch has done plenty, but the Indian players have been more skilled at playing on this kind of surface. They've got better players and more batters that can cope with the spinning ball, and India's spinners are better on these kind of wickets. You know, they fire it in quicker, they're more consistent, they've got better variations. Axar Patel's just shown that in that spell there. That ball that's skidding onto the right hand has then the one that spits past the outside edge. If you watch Jack Leach, he's bowled nicely, but it's all very similar. It's all just going past the outside edge with a little bit of loop, where you know, Axar Patel is just firing it in at great pace, which makes it near on impossible to bat against. England, there's not a great deal of positive they can take, other than just trying to bat as long as they can and hope that 1 or 2 individuals get decent scores to take a bit of confidence into the third test match. Yeah,
what they don't want is just to be rolled, just blown away.
Yep.
And to get nothing out of this, and get despondent and get into sort of negative frame of mind, a bit of a bunker mentality about things, and they somehow they've got to ignore all the stuff that's going on around the edges, haven't they? And just, well, we've won one, we can get out there and do another one. But this day-night game, crikey, it's going to be an important game for this series, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I think if you take a step back and understand that this week it's not been a good week for the England team, but at the end of it, if you just kind of take a day or two to have a breather, which they're going to have, they're going to have a day or so off, aren't they? It's not going to go till the 5th day, and then realise that they're 1-1 in a 4-match series.
Yeah.
I think at the start of the series, if you'd have said to me, by the way, by the time they get to that pink ball game, it's 1-1, I'd have laughed. I'd have said, no chance, not in these conditions. England can't win a test. Well, they won won in the series after this week. So there's a great positive. I think getting on a plane and getting to a new venue, you've mentioned it, new hotel. I know they can't go out and see things, but just having a different room to look at, a different ground, different dressing room, that can give you a little bit of a lift. They've been at this ground pretty much now for 2.5, 3 weeks. So I think that'll just give them a mental kind of freshen up. But it's not going to be easy. This Indian side, once they get onto this kind of roll, you only have to look at the history of the last 20 odd years. Not many teams go to India and beat them. And generally when they get on a roll like this, they're very, very difficult to stop.
Well, they're amongst the wickets this morning, weren't they? I mean, there's that hilarious run out of Pujara, whose bat got stuck in the hole in the pitch, so he was run out. Pant's bat also got stuck in a hole, and I mean, he'd have been stumped anyway. With some brilliant wicket keeping from folks. I mean, there have been some amusing and highly skilled moments in the cricket that we've seen, and clearly there's been a lot of focus of attention on Foakes and the way that he's kept. He's missed a couple of chances too, to be absolutely ruthlessly accurate about it. But my word, he's done some couple of beautiful pieces of work.
Yeah, he's an artist, isn't he?
Yeah. Behind
the stumps, he just is such it's a pleasure to watch. I mean, it's not often that I get too excited about wicket keepers. I kind of, you got the gloves on, you should be able to catch it. But when you're watching someone like Ben Foakes, who makes it look so easy, and of course he's missed a couple of. I know what you're laughing at on the screen.
It's
Pujara's run out, stumping or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but when you've got someone delivering a skill that's so difficult. And he's doing it with such speed, and the technical side. I have no clue about the technical side of keeping, but I can see when a keeper has got everything pretty much spot on, and that's what Ben Foakes has got. I mean, England going forward, they've got so many options and so many kind of choices. Could you keep Ben Foakes at 7 as the wicketkeeper, the batsman, Buttler bats at 6, and then you question about who bats number 3 or who joins Dom Sibley, Rory Burns, is it? Zach Crawley opens the batting, can Ollie Pope bat 3, Bairstow bat 3? England are starting to get a lot of options, but I just think it's almost sometimes, I guess, that you get too many options.
Well, I agree with you.
And too many questions. And I understand bubble life and it's not easy, but I'm going to keep going on about it, that I'm staggered that England have made so many changes, haven't gone 1-0 up in a series. I'm absolutely staggered. You're 1-0 up against India on the same venue and there's 4 changes. Jofra Archer injured, I get that. But to have 4 changes in the next game, 3 days after winning a test match on the same venue, I just think they've just got to be very, very careful that they're not becoming too scientific as a selection group. They're not looking at too much data and too much information. It's a game of cricket. You 1-0 up. You know what? How are you, Jimmy Anderson? I'm all right. Go again. Josh Buttler, can you just play us another week? Yeah, I'll play another week. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. I just think they've made too many changes.
I mean, if they had played Anderson, I'm not saying he might have made a difference in this match, but you're right. You select him on the form that he's in. There's a week off between this one and the next. I know the next one he'll definitely play, obviously, because it's a day-night game, and they're going to hope that he can do things with the pink ball. But a week off, it's just to recover. It keeps them in form.
It's just a little bit too scientific for me. Like, it was almost, you mentioned it in Sri Lanka. I think when Johnny played well in the first, I thought, well, I hope that considering keeping him for the first 2 test matches in India now, because he's playing so well. England need a number 3. Give him another run in the team. It's only just back into the test team, but it was already set in stone of what they were doing. And I think that's the issue with all this, that because it's been set in stone of who's missing what when, but you've got to be reactionary to the series that you're involved in. And such a big series like India away, I just think they've been a little bit too scientific with it all.
I mean, the alternative could have been to have just left it flexible, but players knowing that they will at some stage on the tour possibly get a tap on the shoulder, say, right, you're going home tomorrow, mate, for a bit of a break. And do it that way, rather than, right, you are going to go home on January the 19th, whatever happens. Maybe the more flexible way would have been better, actually.
But it could have been that someone like Jos Buttler misses the one-days and T20s.
Yeah.
He's going to play loads of cricket in these conditions in the IPL. So it's not that Jos Buttler needs lots of T20 cricket. He's such a good T20 player anyway, and 50-over player. So it has been a little bit confusing. But I do think you could argue whatever the England team that they'd put out this week, playing this Indian side, having lost the toss on this wicket, it may not have made a massive difference. But I'm all for team. When you get a team playing like a team and like the team that they have been playing for the first 3 games, 2 in Sri Lanka and the first test in Chennai, bit old school, I'd have carried on with the majority of that team unless they were injured.
It's interesting because you look at I'm just looking at a replay now of Rory Burns' dismissal. And that'll be exactly what our friends on BCCI TV will be pointing at as being the difference between the sides and the English whinging about the pitches. Well, hang on a minute, look at that shot from one of your frontline batsmen, and they've got a point, haven't they?
Yeah,
whatever we may say about the suitability of this pitch for Test cricket, it has highlighted serious flaws, and that's a poor shot to play.
Yeah, poor shot,
batsman.
Poor mindset, poor technique.
Yeah.
Even dancing down the over before, and he whipped one pass straight mid-on for 4. I was like, why are you getting that side of the ball? You're hitting against the turn. You want to teach young players to play both sides of the wicket against the spinning ball, but things have to be in your favour if you possibly can get it into your favour. The pitch really is a talking point because it's not been prepared to last 5 days, and that's the only talking point. And we know, Aggers, from being here in the UK, that we've done similar things over the years. It's not that we're just saying India are the only team that do it. We've been guilty of preparing green tops that's not right,
and being critical of having done it too. So
yeah, correct. That's what it is, and it's just when you target or question things that happen differently in India, they take it personally, and they take it that you're attacking the nation. It's not that at all. It's just trying to look after Test match cricket. And if Test match cricket wants to carry on being a 5-day format, well, you've got to prepare wickets that last 5 days. And that's what I found quite ironic, that a lot of journalists actually are all 4 or 5 day Test match cricket. I completely get that, but a lot of those journalists are now saying that this pitch is fine. I'm saying, well, that can't be right, because this is a pitch that's not going to last 5 days, but you want 5 days of cricket. So got to be careful. It's not been a great Test match wicket, but India have got better skilled players, better spinners and better batters that can cope with the spinning ball, and have just been a better team this week, and a more galvanised, ruthless, in the England team's faces team, which I expect India to carry on for the last 2 Test matches.
And I think what it has done, because I've gone through these regulations a lot, and I've not been pulled up for saying what I've assumed, is I can't see any punishment anywhere in the Test Championship for preparing a substandard pitch, and if at least what this does is get the ICC introduce some sort of points penalty for preparing a substandard pitch, and that's something that comes out of it, because there has to be that in place. Otherwise, you can prepare what you like and you get through to the final. There has to be a standard of pitch that is good enough. They got overrate penalty fines and so on for points in the World Test Championship. Well, there should be also for pitch preparation too. I
agree. I totally agree. You look at it in all the different first class structures around the world that you have that in county cricket here. If you prepare a substandard wicket, you get penalised for it. I mean, I'll just keep saying it. Well, while every Test match cricket is 5 days, unless a team plays appallingly, and there will be arguments saying, well, wait a minute, England have played appallingly. That's why the game's only going to last 3 days in a session. But let's be honest, if India had declared it probably an hour in today's play, they'd have won inside 3 days quite comfortably. It's not a pitch that's been prepared for 5 days, and that's my issue with it. And we are as guilty as any in this country of doing a very similar thing, preparing a green top, preparing something that suits the English seamers with the Duke ball, and the Test match finishes quickly because of it. So we're as guilty as any team in the country that tries to get away with it, but it doesn't stop us being able to say, wait a minute, this week the Test wicket has not been a good one for Test match cricket, because it's not been prepared to last 5 days.
Well, we'll see how long it goes tomorrow. Michael, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts, as always, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow. Have a good day. So there's Michael. Phil Tufnell's still there. We'll talk a bit about the spinners, Tuffers, aren't we? I mean, you'll have heard that conversation there. I do feel a bit sorry for spin bowlers, because when you get a nice green pitch and the ball nibbles about, and in we go and zipping it past the outside edge, everyone just says, oh, it's a bit fruity, it's a bit interesting. As soon as the ball starts going through the top and spinning and bouncing, people say, well, it's a substandard pitch, this is not on. So I always feel a bit sorry for spinners in that case. But I wonder what your take is on how and why England have been so comprehensively outplayed, really, on this particular type of surface.
Well, I think it was that first day, wasn't it, and that Rohit Sharma knock. I don't think we bowled enough decent balls on a flattish pitch then, wasn't it? It was pretty good to bat on. The odd one started turning sort of like just after lunch perhaps, you know what I mean? But it wasn't sort of turning and spitting quite so much. And I think that we just allowed India to get that momentum by bowling too many release shots. I mean, we were talking to Andy Zaltzman, you know, 35 full tosses or something in a couple of test matches. I mean, that really is quite a lot. Yeah, so I think that first day was crucial. That knock by Rohit Sharma really did set up the kind of mindset of both sides, didn't it? And about how the game was going to progress. And cricket is a lot like that, you know. Test cricket, you know, you really do have to fight to wrestle back initiative and momentum, don't you? And I think India got a real lot of momentum from that first day. Rohit Sharma, a magnificent knock, but I don't think we bowled as well as we could do. If we look back, the bowling coaches and what have you, I think there'll be a lot of bad balls bowled, which then, you know, gives the four, gives the momentum, the crowd get behind you and things become hard. We didn't make, I think, India work hard enough for their runs in that first innings.
Yeah, and the difference in attitude of the batsmen of either side playing against the spinners. You know, I was watching Rory Burns again there just now, getting caught, you know, flicking against the spin. Yes, it did go bang and it exploded dust everywhere. And he looked at the pitch, and you could see him muttering and accusing the pitch. But actually, that's not a poor shot. It's a poor shot. You would not have seen an Indian batsman playing that sort of flicky shot against the spin, nowhere near the pitch of the ball. Yeah, that in these circumstances is a poor shot.
Yeah, and you're probably not even going to get a four for it, because all it is like a little caress through mid-wicket. That is just fraught with danger. You've almost got to put those shots out of your mind, unless the ball's right under your eyes and you've got right to the pitch of it. You know, sort of risk and reward. What are you going to get for that? One or two? You know, what can happen? Well, that is the thing that the spin bowler's looking to do. Play it through the leg side with the ball turning away from the bat, and that's what happened. So hopefully Rory Burns will sort of look back at that and think, well, yeah, that perhaps was a bit silly. But I mean, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, you know, you've been talking about the pitch, and then Ashwin goes out there and gets 100 and everything. A lot of it is mindset, isn't it? You know, it's mindset. Is that, you know, when they started India, they were like 250 in the lead anyway. You can come down the wicket and slog one, and it always sort of goes over, just over mid-on's head or something like that. You know how it happens. And England did get themselves back into a reasonable position, didn't they? Yeah. You know, 100 for 6, and then it was like the sort of air was let out of the balloon with one sort of, you know, that Kohli and Ashwin partnership just really sort of sucked the life out of England. And, you know, they're trying hard, even in a sort of losing effort then. But then that just sort of, you know, just really sort of rubbed salt into the wounds, and it just deflated them a bit, you know. And I can understand it. It's hard work, Test cricket, you know.
Yeah. As far as the spinners are concerned, what do you make of sort of body language and so on of Leach and Moeen, and of course Bess having been dropped? I mean, does that still seem like a fair decision or not? I wonder how you reflect on that now as well.
I'm not 100% sure. I think something obviously was talked about with Dom Bess there. You know, I think that second innings in the first Test match, didn't he? Sort of like he looked a bit tired, didn't he? He looked a bit drained, and, you know, bowled very well in the first innings. Okay, got a couple of lucky wickets, but so what? You know, got his fourfer and everything, and then should have been coming out in that last innings, I would have thought, you know, with a bit of confidence. You know, I've got a bit lucky here, and the wicket's turning. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. I think Jack Leach has stuck to his guns marvellously well. You know, he's run in, bowled a few bad balls, but you can see him getting better and better and more consistent as the overs pile up in the legs. So that's good. And I actually thought Moeen, you know, has done a reasonable job as well. First day, you know, was a little bit off, but he hasn't played any red ball cricket for a long time. You're going to bowl the odd bad ball. So I think the England spinners have done all right. Just need to be more consistent and sort of put pressure on every delivery. Too many sort of release balls from them. You can say that's bubble life and what have you, but you know, they haven't played a lot of cricket, but just need to iron out those bad deliveries.
What can they learn? I mean, I think, you know, we talked about what England's batsmen might take out of what remains of this match. I just wonder what England's spinners can learn from the experience of these two games and from watching Ashwin particularly close up. What would you take away from it, do you think?
Well, you've got to stick at it. Simple as that. You've got to stick at it. And just because it's turning and bouncing, it doesn't mean that it's just going to happen. You know, you've got to really focus on it. And, you know, every baller's got to be your best ball.
Yeah. We'll speak to Prakash Wakanka for an Indian perspective in just in a second, Tuffers. Just a last-ish thought from you. How do you make the sort of the atmosphere around this game? We've just been watching another replay there of Virat Kohli having a go at poor umpire Menon. 2 goes today when he quite rightly warned him of running down the pitch, and you can see him on the replay going straight down the middle of the pitch. That question of sort of disputing decisions out in the middle, and then Ravi Shastri appears on the boundary edge having a go at the umpires and so on. On a tour, it's very easy to get to descend into a negative mindset, isn't it? Think the world's against you. You're on your bus, you got your headphones on, and listening to whatever you want to listen to. You go into your room, the curtains are drawn. It's and you can just feel that everything's going wrong. And I remember that '93 tour that you were on and I covered and so on. That was one of those where it sort of descended really, and there's never really a feeling that you were going to win a game. And somehow this management and the captains always got to make sure that whatever happens here tomorrow and the stuff that's going off, the noise off, doesn't create that sort of atmosphere. Yeah,
well, I think what England will do is they say, look, okay, we've lost it, we've been thoroughly outplayed there, let's park that game. We didn't have the best of the conditions, blah, 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 all of this kind of stuff. But listen, we're 1-1. We're going into Ahmedabad, as you were saying with Michael, fresh set of circumstances. Yeah. I think they're very strong, England, in that mindset as well. So I don't think they'll take the positives, of course, from this game and what have you, and take that forward into the third Test match. But I don't think there'll be too many scars. If anything, it just shows how desperate India, if anything, were to win this Test match.
Yes.
You saw them just drop down a gear, didn't you? And sort of like it got a little bit tetchy and a little bit fractious and a few words flying around as well. So I think England will, sometimes you can sort of see that as, oh crikey, well of course they're going to win. Why are they getting so worried about it almost? You know what I mean? So they were desperate to win this Test match, of which they have done. But I don't think England will be too scarred by this Test match because, we're professional cricketers. You kind of know what's going to happen sometimes and you just have to dust yourself off and go again on the third one.
Cheers, Phil. See you soon. See you tomorrow.
Mate.
Thanks very much for hanging on there to have a chat about England's spin bowlers in this situation. Let's nip across to Pune then and speak to Prakash Wakanka, who is rubbing his hands in glee, I suspect, at the thought of a series levelling victory tomorrow, Prakash, and on they'll go all square.
Yes, we seem to be making a habit of it, the Indian team. Lose the first one and then come back and quickly set the record right and even up. Yes, I think it's been a very good performance. There's enough talk about all the other issues, but I think the way Ashwin batted, the way Virat Kohli applied himself yet again just shows that if you have the skill and like Ashwin today, have a bit of luck, you can actually battle it out here. And isn't that old adage just true every time, Agus? Catches win matches. I mean, you look at that first Test match. England held everything and then every half chance as well. Today, it didn't quite go their way. There were a few dropped catches here and there. One stumping, if one wants to be really harsh, on otherwise an outstanding performance by Foakes. And I think, as was being said earlier by Phil, I think, as I just overheard some of that, clearly, at some stage, you do resign yourself, in a manner of speaking, to say, okay, looks like this one's gone. What can I do now to, A, not lose too much of confidence, know that you've drawn level. You were not expected to win the first Test. You won it emphatically. The pink ball offers probably the best chance for England. And I think the Australians will be rooting for England as well.
It has been a real turnaround by India, though, hasn't it? I mean, in every sense. And we will talk about Kohli in a second. Well, we'll talk about Kohli now, if you like. But this is a very different Virat Kohli that we're seeing in this game, not just with a bat in his hand, but also out there in the field and having a go at the umpires and so on. This is a very different, very energised Kohli to the one that we saw in the first Test.
I think he just overcharged his batteries. I think that's all it is. But that's who he is, isn't he? I mean, I guess we've known that. We've known with Virat even before he got the captaincy. I remember that, the fingers to the crowd in, where was it, Sydney or Melbourne or wherever it was, in England, in the face all the time. That's who he is. I think he feeds off that. He's a bit like that Superman with the kryptonite. The crowd probably works like that for him. If he doesn't get that, then maybe he's a little bit flat. And a flat Kohli is not what you've come to expect. But I think somewhere along the way, he's got to realize he's showing some statesman-like stuff. I remember the reaction to Steve Smith coming out to bat at the Oval in the World Cup, encouraging the crowd to stop booing and giving him a hand. I mean, that kind of stuff shows that there is a decent bloke in him. But I think on a cricket field, particularly in a situation like this, smarting from a defeat in the first test, he's just a little bit too aggressive for my liking personally.
His sleeves are certainly rolled up, aren't they? I mean, he's
yes.
and Ravi Ashwin, again, someone who you'll have watched play so much. I mean, but that's a remarkable innings, really, coming in at 106 for 6, wickets tumbling all around, and I mean, actually, he outscored Kohli.
Yeah, he did, and he had I think about 60 odd in that 96-run partnership. So he outbatted Kohli, a set Kohli, who'd probably faced 40 balls before he arrived. And I think it was just the silken grace of his batting. I thought he batted really brilliantly. I mean, those 2 catches notwithstanding. He was just easy. He was timing the ball beautifully. And I think he's just out to prove, because there have been that set of detractors of Ashwin, haven't they, in India, as you inevitably get everywhere in the world. And he's just shown that he's now only got Surrey and Botham ahead of him in terms of that record of 100 and 5 wickets in the same test. And what a phenomenal record that is.
Yeah. And the debate about the pitch and technique carries on. But I don't know if you heard, we were talking there about, like Rory Burns, for instance, the way that he got out there. I mean, I don't see an Indian batsman playing that sort of shot. And that's the sort of really tight technique, the really tight technique that you have to show to survive on pitches like this.
Yes, I mean, if you think about it and noticed, I'm sure you did, Agus, that the change that Virat Kohli made from first innings to second innings, he was sort of getting besides the ball to Leach, and his bat face was in a particular position. Playing Moeen Ali, he was shuffling onto the off stump, and his bat face was exactly the opposite direction. So he was, those are the kind of things that you would expect people like Ollie Pope, and I actually do think he will have picked up a lot from just standing there at short leg and observing. And I think those are the things that you've got to pick up. Rory Burns had a reprieve earlier, and then, yes, the closing of the bat face on a pitch like this. Yeah, but what else can you do? I mean, you try and play something different. You come down the wicket, you try and throw the bowler off their length. But guys like Ashwin, I think, have got too many overs under their belt to be affected by that.
Yeah, quite true. Right, well, Prakash, it's lovely to talk to you. We'll catch up with you at some stage tomorrow. It may not be late.
Yes, it may not be. But again, I'll say not before lunch, for sure.
Oh, well, OK, we'll take your word for that. Prakash, thank you. Well, we heard from Tuffers about England's spinners. Let's see if the spin bowling coach agrees with him. Jeetan Patel has been speaking to Simon Mann.
Jeetan, Jack Leach 4 for 100, Moeen Ali 4 for 98. Were you perhaps a bit disappointed, frustrated that the spinners didn't have an even bigger impact today on a surface like that?
Well, they certainly had a big impact this morning. Maybe the ball was newer, maybe it was harder. The impact this morning was fantastic, and they almost set up the game to really go away. Then a couple of chances, half chances, didn't go away. Did the ball get soft? Possibly. But I'm not disappointed. I think they put in a hell of an effort, 60 overs each. They had one session off in 3 days, and that's not. It's not how you win test matches, Simon. So I think for them, they'll be tired tonight, they'll be tired tomorrow, but we should take a lot of positives and confidence out of that.
Moeen is returned to the side after not being in the middle for a long period. I mean, how difficult is that? As a former spinner yourself and a spin bowling coach, and how do you think he's gone in general?
Yeah, look, I think he's been really good. I think initially he showed signs of nerves and maybe a touch anxious about how it will go for him. But as the game went on, he himself was really positive about how he was doing his job, and it's good to see.
What have you been working on with England's spinners?
Well, obviously consistency is always going to be that one that every spinner would strive for. But for me, it's plans around how we're going to play the game in the subcontinent and how the subcontinent players will play us. So I've asked them to bowl really straight at times, and when the wicket allows, let's go wider. But for me, it's just trying to get, as much as take wickets, it's how we're going to control the rate. They put us under pressure a lot of the time. They try to hit boundaries. They recognise that from that first game. that we were happy to go at 2s, 3s and over, knowing there'd be opportunities at times. And I think in this game here, in this test match, they put us on the back foot early doors, and they've paid some rewards for it.
Too many full tosses, too many 4 balls?
Look, I mean, when you're striving to hit the foot marks like they are, with lots of spin on it, there's going to be variation in lengths. That's fine, that's understandable. And like I said, they have bowled a lot of overs recently. It's taken a toll on them. I'm not saying that's an excuse. That is just part of the reason as to what the inconsistencies are about. That's the reason probably why we left Don Best out, didn't we? Because he's had a high workload, and he looked tired at the back end of that test match with the 3-day turnaround. It was better off for him to take time out of the game and then come back for that third test, hopefully in Ahmedabad.
You're listening to the TMS podcast from BBC Radio 5 Live.
Yesterday, the West Indies completed a remarkable 2-0 series win in Bangladesh, despite coming into the tour with a number of key players having withdrawn. The first test saw Kyle Mayers hit a record-breaking 4th innings double century on debut to chase down 395, and then a nail-biting test in Dhaka was won by 17 runs yesterday. Simon Manns is speaking to their head coach Phil Simmons and asked him for his reflections on the series.
Reflections is just amazement about the quality of the work they've put in and what they've gotten out of it, and the success that has come from them just being decisive, wanting to win and just doing everything that's necessary to win.
Take you back to the first test match. Did you think that was possible when you started that run chase or that pursuit of that huge total in the 4th innings?
Yeah, we always thought that with the amount of time we had, it was definitely possible, and the wicket wasn't any worse than it was on the first day. So it was always possible, and we just tried to get through that evening without losing too many wickets and then plan for the next day.
At what point did you think the possibility was going to become reality?
I think all of us thought so at tea time, because we hadn't lost any wickets for the day, and we were going along very well, and 30 overs to get 120 odd runs. It was ours to lose.
What about the innings of Kyle Mayers? I mean, to come out and score a double 100 in the 4th innings of a test match, I mean, that is some achievement. What did you feel about him as a player when he was selected for this tour?
Kyle has been on, this would be his 3rd tour with us, and he works hard on his game. He works hard, especially his batting. So they work a little hard on the bowling, but he works hard on his batting. So we knew his prowess, let's say, if he got in, his ability to hit the ball, his ability to find the gaps when he hits the ball. So we knew of his capabilities, and when he got here, he showed us that he wanted to work for what we for the project that we are imparted on in this tour.
How would you characterise him as a batsman? For those who haven't seen him, what is he like as a player?
Characterise him, Clive Lloyd-like. That's the kind of character. That's the kind of batting character he is. When he hits it, it stays hit. But he can bat properly, and Lloydie showed that, and he did so well for West Indies at 6. So Kyle can do the same at 5, 6, anywhere around there.
Well, if he's as good as Clive Lloyd, I mean, you've got some talent there. What is he going to work on to sort of to get to perhaps another level? And you talk about Clive Lloyd there to get even close to Clive Lloyd.
Well, the thing that you get close to these great players is about your consistency. We all know that you have talent. We all know that you can bat, but how you work to keep ahead of the opposition. 1% ahead, as we say, of the opposition is what's going to make you a great player. You need to always know what is coming your way. For instance, the next tour or the tour after, because it's such a small world now with all the technology that you've got to be one step ahead of your opponents, and that's what he has to do because he has all the qualities to do it.
I suppose I know he was in England last summer. I suppose why didn't he play last summer? I know he was sort of in the backups, wasn't he, among the backup players?
Yeah, he was in the reserves last summer. He was in the T20 and reserves in New Zealand. But that's cricket. We had a more or less settled team, and he couldn't push his way, and he had a excellent 4-day season last year, so that pushed him into focus. But he couldn't get him because the team was settled. He's gotten a chance with some guys choosing not to tour, and God, it's great to see him just hold on to it, just grab it with both hands and run with it.
How difficult was the build up to the series with players pulling out?
For me, it's not difficult. You have a choice. You say, well, look, I'm not happy to go on tour this time for whatever reason. The reason is yours, and you have to respect people's reasons. But then we selected a team, and everyone we spoke to on that squad at the eventuals when we got here were happy to be here and just wanted to get to work. So it's easy in that way.
What about the second Test match, Phil? I mean, that was a very different sort of game, and it got quite tight. How did you see that one? You won by 17 runs.
I think the biggest part in the Test match was the partnership between Joshua De Silva and Nkrumah Bonner when we were 5 wickets down, and their partnership is what took us to give us the ability to get to 400. When you get to 400 on the first inning, then you're sort of not in the driver's seat, but you're in contention. So having a lead, and I thought that we did well to restrict the bowl them out first inning, and then it was always going to be difficult to chase 250 because we wanted 250 for sure, but we fell a little bit short, but we ended up defending it.
Yeah, just to remind everyone the scores, West Indies 409, Bangladesh 296, and then West Indies 117 all out. So Bangladesh were chasing in the end around about 230 to win the match. You felt you had enough there. You said 250 is going to be difficult chase. 230, that was you felt that was enough.
Well, I would have been happier with 250, 260, but 230 they were still in the game. I think that the more runs we could have put on, another 30, 40 runs, put more pressure on them when they come out the bat. So it was in the balance, but then when they started like that, they kind of took the game in their hands, and then we pulled it back with some wickets. The captain coming on there and getting 2 wickets that changed the whole game.
Yeah, 17-run victory in the end. A word on Mr. Cornwall. He was the man of the match. He inevitably gets attention because, I suppose, of his physical appearance. I mean, he's a huge man. How well did he bowl in this series?
He was exceptional. He was the difference, I think, in the series because what did he get? 14 wickets, I think he got, and at crucial times he was the one who came in and did the business. And for him to bowl so many overs on the trot, I think it gives people an indication of his quality as a spinner, but also his endurance when he's bowling.
How did you celebrate? I mean, you've talked about the importance of celebrating victories. How did you celebrate those 2 wins?
Down here, it's a little bit difficult to get champagne. So we had a few beers together. We played some more dominoes, talk and laugh, and just as simple as that. I think in another place where we had a few bottles of champagne last night, there would have been a few bottles drunk, but you take what you get, but you enjoy the celebration. You enjoy everybody sitting in the room and reminiscing about cheese. You see that catch from yesterday and things like that. So that's how you celebrate.
Yeah, well, that's a lovely feeling, isn't it, to be all together in a team situation like that?
It's a brilliant feeling, and that's one of the top things that this tour has brought. And COVID in itself, we look at all the negatives, but in one way, that has brought teams closer, I think, because everyone's got to be staying. You have team rooms where you play different games, and in our case, dominoes is a huge game, and it keeps people close. And last night was no difference. To sit back and watch everyone enjoying themselves because we've been successful, it's amazing. Who's the best dominoes player in the team? Oh boy, yeah. I'm going to get in trouble if I call a name because all feel that they're good. Even even the security manager thinks he's a great doubles player. Apparently, he's writing a book about it. So, but I'm not calling any names.